they don't collect dust. Now we're getting into something that I think is more important because it's never too late. Have they discussed with her the narrative or the release plan? It's never too late. So we're going to talk about the narrative and release plan now. And this is what I have gone ahead. I wrote this for LinkedIn. Personal narrative is writing your story. So what does that mean? It's for, so right now, before, if you didn't write the narrative, or if Elizabeth Holmes did not write a narrative, the Department of Justice did. It's called her indictment. Nike has their narrative. It's their brand. Just do it. They have it written all over their sneakers and advertising on TV. Tesla, they have their narrative. They show it all the time for their car on YouTube's. SpaceX, he's very good with his narratives. So writing your story through a narrative tells the judge, or in this point, whomever, what you did, how you came to this point in your life. This is an arduous, self-reflective experience. But now she's going to tell the judge. She pretty much has to tell it's this introspective experience that she's going to have to go through on her own, through to herself. This is her autobiography of herself and those around her, the good, the bad, and the ugly. She can't enlist anyone else to do it with her, help her mitigate, this particular experience, but it requires 100% of her participation. And it has to include everything from her childhood. Are there siblings? What did she do? What did her parents do? Was she, are the brothers, sisters, adopted, not adopted? Their parents, did they work, not work? Did they expect too much of her? What was her childhood like? High school like? How did you get involved with this particular venture? What was her involvement? Was her involvement day to day with all of the operations, or did she farm out some of the operations to other individuals? And mind you, she's responsible for what the buck stops with her. It's her company. So even though she gave the responsibility to other people, it's still her company. And so even though she gave the responsibilities out, this is still her business. And she's responsible for what everyone else did. And she has to understand, she has to go through and see how it impacted everyone else, people who she went to, not for just money, but for their reputations. This is a big deal. How, in other words, she went to people had very public lives for backing, and some backed her with money, and some backed her with phone calls and reputations. And, in looking back, it didn't look good on each and every one of them. And so what is her plan? If she has a plan, how can she make that right? It's a traumatic event for her, but it was a traumatic event for them. And so as she goes through this, there needs to be a point where there's an aha moment where she finally sees daylight, and she needs to accept responsibility for, she's the owner of the business. People offered money, sure. People lost money. It hurt some. People have their reputations hurt. It's not okay. It really is not okay. And so what are her plans? She can't make plans, but she needs to come to a grip with the fact that she's responsible, has accepted remorse, and has to understand that she needs to come to a place where she understands that she needs to show that she needs to make things right with her victims, with the community of influential victims that she cultivated over the years, as well as the judge, the community, her family. And this could take several years to develop. It's not going to happen right away. And this is her story. And by the time it's done, and it will take 6 months of rewrites, but if she's willing to face her demons, potentially it could be a cathartic moment by the time it's done. And it will, it may be able to, I'm reading here, it says sincere indictment, the rest of it may be able to show that she's maybe learned from what she's put others through, and she's able to take the next step potentially she's smart enough to make things right. And so what does this aha moment do? Well, before I get to that, to show the case managers, which are her stakeholders, who are responsible for her future while she's in prison, don't pay other people to do your jobs. Do your own job. Take quiet time to get settled in prison there, and just take quiet time to get be at peace with your own thoughts. Don't forget, don't let people tell you that the outside's the outside and you're inside. You can't shut the outside world out. Otherwise, it's just not good. I did that and it doesn't work. It's going to be a shock to your system, but prison is temporary. And there are going to be those that want to take advantage of you, and you should be able to see it. You're a smart girl. But if you're able to write this narrative and have that aha moment, it's never too late to start. And that narrative can become your release plan, together with your first step back programming, the reading of books. Maybe you're able to create a course. Lord knows you're smart enough with a syllabus for the others there, because you're probably going to be the smartest person in the room. Just don't let everybody else know that. And it can be a couple days a week, running for several months, see what happens, but show it to the case manager and counselor. And if they like it, they'll show it to their supervisors. It'll get passed. Maybe it may get passed. It may get turned into a first step act class. And in which case, let your case manager take credit. And then you'll look like a star pupil. And in the long run, now you're now looking better to your case managers, unit team, counselors, because you're showing incremental improvements in your criminogenic tendencies without ever trying. And that aha moment, as you're emailing home every week what you're doing, at some point, maybe that'll get turned into an autobiography. You don't know, especially if what you're writing in a separate set of journals. Your aha moment really is your narrative and release plan. A publisher may take you up on it at some point. You have enough time to think about it. And with that, now the Second Chance Act. Because if you've taken the time several years to think about writing this, because it's not going to happen overnight, believe me. It took me a couple of years to realize that I wasn't candid with my attorney, and I'm on the outside. Then your case managers, they have the ability, and you have the time due to your sentence, that you could spend maybe up to a year at home on home confinement, maybe 6 months to a year in halfway house. And so, you don't know. And I hope that this gets shared with, in addition to all of you who are listening, which I'm grateful for, that someone knows Elizabeth Holmes or her attorney, and this gets shared with them. But if not, I am grateful all of you have taken the time to listen, and I hope you had a great day on the first Tuesday after Memorial Day. All of you stay safe and have a good day.